It's nice to see everyone on one page too.
It is.
I do like that.
Sunny.
Okay, shall we start? Kim, what do you think?
I think you can go ahead and get started.
So thank you all for joining the Sausalito Women's Club Brown Bag presentation of Hospice by the Bay, sponsored by our very active donations committee. I'd like to introduce our program chair for this event, Mary Kay Krause. MK has been intimately involved in the hospice program over many years. She worked as a hospice nurse and 7 years ago benefited firsthand from the hospice services for her husband, and as she describes it, quote unquote, his beautiful death. So please welcome MK Krause.
Thank you, Karen, and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Hospice by the Bay presentation. As Karen alluded, I'm really looking forward to this presentation because hospice has a very special place in my heart because of the wonderful care they gave my husband in his final months. It is my honor to introduce our presenter, Miguel Rulas. Miguel is a professional fundraiser and he's a philanthropic advisor with 25 years in the nonprofit sector. Currently, he is working at Hospice by the Bay as the Director of Development. There, he manages a team that is responsible for all aspects of fundraising, annual giving, events, grants, planned giving, marketing, and communications. Please help me welcome Miguel.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mary, for that introduction. It's a pleasure to finally meet you in person via Zoom.
Indeed.
It's a great pleasure. I'm going to just move right into sharing the screen if you don't mind. And let me see if I can get there quickly. And let's see here. Great. Okay. Well, I want to start with a very warm welcome and thank you to the Sausalito Women's Club for your continued support, 36 years. And I was thrilled this morning when I walked into the office and there it was, yet another check. So thank you. Your timing was just perfect. So I'm going to tell you a lot about hospice, and I don't know if you want to open it up to as a Q&A as I go, or if you want to do Q&A at the end. Do you have a preference?
I think at the end, possibly.
Okay, good. So let me see here. So a lot of you know our mission, and we were founded here in Marin County. Our mission is to be the premier provider of hospice care, skilled home health care, palliative care, and pediatric care for patients, caregivers, and their loved ones at home. A little bit of the history. I'm going to move my pictures around because I can't seem to see the end of my PowerPoint presentation. So give me a second here. There. Serving our communities for 45 years. We started here in Marin County in 1975, and it was started by a group of volunteers, primarily women who didn't want people to die alone at home. And so these volunteers provided this service for several years before they incorporated into a nonprofit organization. So in 1995, we officially became, at that point, it was Hospice of Marin. All of our services were here in Marin County. We then moved into Sonoma County. Actually, Sonoma County invited us to come in and provide hospice care there because they didn't have it, and they were well aware of our reputation. They understood the work that we did, providing end-of-life care. And so we were invited to come into the town of Sonoma to provide hospice care there. We were then we moved into San Francisco. And again, I'm so sorry. I'm going to move. I don't know how this affects you, but I can no longer see your faces, but I can see my PowerPoint presentation. So we started providing services in Sonoma, in San Francisco in 2003. We are the second oldest hospice in the country and the first in California. We are also affiliated with UCSF Health, and we started our affiliation with them in 2015. And if anyone has any questions along the way, just pop right in. Today, I'm going to bring you very quickly right into today because there's been a lot of change that has happened. Today, we are serving over 1,500 patients daily. We have an annual operating budget of $65 million. We have 475 employees and 420 volunteers. The majority of our employees are doing clinical work. Probably 100 of those employees are doing administrative support, such as myself. Volunteers, pretty much the same ratio. The majority of our volunteers are doing bedside care, with a large number also doing administrative care. And we also operate 2 thrift stores. I don't know if you've been to or heard of them. It's called Hodgepodge. We have one in San Rafael and one in Novato. The services that we provide are hospice care primarily. Probably the majority of our patients and families are doing hospice care. We 3 years ago started doing skilled home health care. We provide palliative care and pediatric care. What we are moving towards is a much more a spectrum of services, and that's because our patients and families want to be cared for at home, not just with hospice care, but they want to start with palliative care and skilled home health care and then move into hospice. The trend now is that people want services at home as opposed to in a hospital or a nursing home. So additional services that we provide and programs is a very popular community grief support program because just because someone passes away doesn't mean that they're done needing support. We have a large number of our community members that come in after their loved one passes for community grief support and counseling. So we provide that service as well. It's a very popular program because people tend to stay in it for a very long time. As you know, it takes a long time to get over the passing of a loved one. So that program is a very strong program. We do for both adults and youth. We provide grief support services for schools because there is so many awful things happening in schools with shootings and all sorts of other things. So we are coming into the school setting to provide grief support there, and businesses are asking for it as well. So this particular program has grown a lot in the last several years. We also have what we call our match program. A lot of our patients come into hospice care, and then they graduate. They get better, they move on, but we have nurses that continue to check in with them after they are done with our services to make sure that that they know that we're here should they need us again. So it's a program that we launched about 5 years ago, and it's been a great program because people feel very comfortable knowing that they can still work with hospice even after they are done with some of our services. As I mentioned earlier, we do a pediatric program. So we are the only Bay Area organizations that provides a full pediatric program where they're assigned to a doctor, a nurse, a spiritual leader, and aides as needed. So we're a full-time support for pediatrics. The majority of our pediatric patients are in Alameda, but we're trying to grow that organization, into other parts of our county. By the Bay Kids is a program that we do for children who have lost a parent or a loved one. And we have so many kids that take advantage of this camp, which is a 3-day camp where they're matched with a mentor for those 3 days. And the kids are provided with counseling and mentorship, and just really a good way for these kids to move away from their grief and into a setting where they're nurtured and cared for. We also have hospice care rooms. So in Sonoma Valley Hospital, we have a room there dedicated for hospice patients. A lot of hospice patients don't have, they don't have anyone at home, or if they do, the person caring for them is no longer able to care for them. So there's a room that we have in the Sonoma Valley Hospital and one here at Tamalpais that also provides that type of care. Last year, we partnered with the Redwoods in Mill Valley, and they have a wing of 12 rooms where they also provide hospice care. This is a pilot program for us, and it seems to be working very well. For those who are no longer able to go home, they provide all of the care there with the nursing care of the Redwoods, and Hospice by the Bay providing the hospice support. The service area is growing. As you know, we started right here in Marin County, and the majority of our patients are in Marin County. I did a quick look at the number of patients that we serve here in Marin on a daily basis. These are just hospice patients. On any given day, we have about 262 patients in Marin. In Sonoma, on average, we have about 119 patients. San Francisco, 179 patients. And then pediatrics, it's a much smaller group, it's 8. But the majority of our work is in Marin County. But now we have offices in Larkspur. You may have seen our building we're right off of the freeway. I'm here right now. And a lot of people think that we provide patient care here. We don't. It's just, it's an admin office. All of our nurses and doctors and clinicians come in. They all have their cubes. They get their, assignments for the day. And all of our care is provided at home. We do not have a facility where we are providing 24-hour care. Our care is in the people's home, wherever that home may be. It may be in a retirement community. It may be in your home or in a hospital. So we have offices in Larkspur, in San Francisco, in Sonoma. We just opened an office in San Mateo, which is way down here. We're getting a lot of requests for support in San Mateo. So we've been growing closer and closer towards San Jose. We have a satellite office in Santa Rosa and one in Alameda. The patients served last year for hospice care, this includes both adults and pediatrics. Last year, we served 2,680 hospice care patients. Palliative care patients, adults and pediatrics, again, 213. Skilled home health care, 646. And that's a new line of service for us. And I will keep talking about this new lines of services because that's what our patients want and their families. They want to be able to come into a skilled home healthcare program, then move into a palliative care program, and then move into hospice care. sometimes they move back into palliative care, but what we're hearing loud and clear is that patients want services at home, and they don't want to wait until they have a terminal diagnosis. They'd like to work with us prior to that. So the other numbers here are just our match program, which is the program where we're checking in with patients after they leave hospice and to make sure that they are still doing well. Our community grief support is we have 840 families that have taken advantage of that last year. And then our total number of services served is 4,635. So on any given year, we're providing services to about between 4,000 and 5,000 individuals. Our commitment to providing care to the underserved population. We are a nonprofit organization. We're one of the few hospice nonprofit organizations left. A lot of hospice organizations are now for-profit, and there's just a handful of nonprofit hospices left. But our commitment is to support all of our community. We will provide services to anyone who needs it, regardless of ability to pay or the diagnosis. We will not turn anyone away. And we want to do as good a job as we can to support the underserved populations. Examples here are in San Francisco, we have a clinical team that's dedicated specifically to the Tenderloin district. The Tenderloin is, of course, an area that needs a lot of support. Often the support that we provide there are in single occupancy rooms. So these are individuals that live in one room. We have hospice care come in and provide services there. We have an award-winning Chinese-speaking clinical team. About 7 years ago, we realized that the Chinese community could benefit by the services, and we put together a team that's dedicated to work with the Chinese community and speaks the language. So this has been a very successful program. Of course, we continue to reach out to all of the Spanish-speaking communities, not only in San Francisco, but here in Marin County and throughout. We have a Russian-speaking home health division. So 5 years ago, we acquired a home health care division in the peninsula, who was already doing home health care for the Russian community. And so we acquired them and have continued to work on reaching out to that community. We have another similar home health care division in Sonoma Valley that we acquired from the Sonoma Valley Hospital about 3 years ago. They were in the red for several years. They were going to do away with the program, and we worked an arrangement with them to continue to provide home health care. And it turned out to be a very good decision on our part. Of course, we continue to outreach to the LGBT community, and all of this kind of works into a huge initiative for us right now on workforce diversity. We are committed to integrating health equity into all facets of our organization. Diversity, equity, and inclusion includes reaching out to those who need our services most. And so we want to be equitable in who we serve and how we do it. And that is in line with us providing services to anyone who needs it, regardless of ability to pay. We believe, that a diverse workforce brings new ideas, perspectives, and makes us a greater organization. And we provide ongoing diversity, equity, and inclusion education for all of our employees. I'm very proud of this program because I happen to be leading it here at Hospice by the Bay. It's just, it's important for our employees to reflect the diverse community that we serve. What we've keep hearing again and again is, how important it is, especially for our Chinese community, our African American community, and Latino community, to just have an organization that looks like the community that we serve. So we're always paying attention to the population that we serve, and we try to reflect that in our employee base. I wasn't sure whether I should include this slide here, but it's important to be fully transparent. And our government reimbursement for Hospice by the Bay is 92% of our total operating budget. You may know that in the early days, there was a lot of negotiations about hospice, who pays for it and when do they pay. So if you're diagnosed as a terminal patient, the last 6 months of your lifetime is covered by hospice through government reimbursement. So people should know that. And if anyone is not well and feels they need care, yet they're afraid of the cost, you should know that Medicare, Medi-Cal, and private insurance covers hospice care for the last 6 months of your lifetime. The rest of it comes from the work that we do in fundraising. 8% of everything is not covered. So we raise 8% of the total operating budget of $64 million. Of that, between $5 and $6 million is raised through our fundraising efforts. And all of our fundraising efforts go right back to supporting all of those individuals and families who are not fully covered. So the fundraising programs that we administer are our annual giving. I'm sure you received solicitations from us in the mail. If not, you should. And we do a lot of fundraising during the year. We do 2 appeals via mail. We have a very robust planned giving program because we've been providing services for 45 years. A lot of patients and families are very grateful to the support that we've given them at the most difficult time in their life. And so they often will leave a portion of their estate, a portion of their IRA, a portion of something as a gift to Hospice by the Bay. I will tell you that 1/3 of our total annual giving comes from bequests, such as planned gifts. We have a wonderful grant making, well, I shouldn't say grant making, we apply for grants to anyone who supports end-of-life care, pediatric care, palliative care. So I have a full-time employee who's an excellent grant writer. And so we are constantly looking for grants. We do events. I don't know if you've been to any one of our galas, but we do an annual gala. It's our only fundraiser that we do. This year, of course, we couldn't do it due to the pandemic. It was a virtual event. I'm hoping that in the next year or two, we'll go back to doing a live gala. This gala is very important to us because it brings in a lot of needed revenue for our planned giving program. And then the retail stores. We have our hodgepodge store. So if you have any things in your closet you want to get rid of, anything that's in your house that that we could sell, bring it to our store in downtown San Rafael. We have 2 stores. The one in Novato is shut right now because we have volunteers run them. We only have 2 staff, and right now, due to the pandemic, we're not using our volunteers at all. We err, of course, to be on the safe side. We don't want to put anyone in danger. So the only retail store we have right now is the Hodgepodge in San Rafael, but they are taking items. They're all donations, just like the Salvation Army and others. We will provide a receipt. We then sell the product, and the proceeds go to support our programs. Our our case for support. I'm not going to read through all of this, but really, we know that 1 in 5 Americans is nearing retirement age. We know that 40% of adults 65 and older in the Bay Area are currently living with 1 or more chronic medical conditions. We are an aging society here, especially here in Marin. And so we want to make sure that we have the services available for our community as we age. And we want to start a little bit earlier before they need hospice care. Just a quick update on COVID, because we're all very interested in COVID. We are all working remotely right now, except for our clinicians who are still going to the homes. We're being very smart about how we're doing telehealth and how we're working with members who don't want people in their home. And so this year we've gotten very creative on how do you continue to support patients and families during shutdowns and during COVID. So we have trained all of our staff on proper etiquette for PPE. We are doing trainings around the clock. We use electronic devices as often as we can. We've provided a lot of our facilities with tablets and iPads for their patients so that they are able to not only communicate with us, but also communicate with their families. So a lot of the fundraising that we did this year was to provide those type of things for our patients who were alone. So what's next? What's next is we want a seamless system of care in the home. That is what our patients tell us that want. They want us in their homes earlier, longer, and what we're trying to really do is provide that seamless system of care. In our partnership with UCSF, they're being very active or proactive in helping us to do that as well. We've been in affiliation with UCSF for, I believe, 6 years now. And every year our relationship with them gets stronger and stronger. We're working with them right now in that they want to have Hospice by the Bay provide the majority of their hospice care, as in we are their preferred provider of hospice care. So we're very happy to be part of the UCSF affiliation, and we're going to continue to work with them more and more over the coming years. So my last slide is about our new name. We're changing our name, and it's going to be effective as of March 30th. It's going to be called By the Bay Health. And the main reason for the name change were several things. We are no longer just doing hospice care. We're doing all this other services. And the name hospice was just not right anymore. I do a much better job of explaining that. I'm not the brander for this name, but the new name is going to talk more about all the 4 different lines of services that we have, starting with hospice care. Hospice care is always going to be the program that we are known for. More than the majority of our patients are hospice care patients, but again, they want additional services. And so By the Bay Health really speaks to more about the actual lines of services. This tagline, Beyond Hospice, we want to keep here until people get more familiar with our name. It's probably going to take at least a year or two, before people start recognizing it. we kept By the Bay, which I think is going to be a natural. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see your faces. But I think keeping By the Bay is really going to be helpful in, keeping the tradition. But we're going to be working very hard in the next year to brand our new name. You are the first people to see it online, so I was a little nervous about getting it out, but it's you guys have been such great supporters for so many years. And we started as Hospice of Marin. When we started providing services outside of Marin, because we were invited to different communities, we changed the name to Hospice by the Bay. And now, because we're providing more than just hospice care, they, after much back and forth with consultants and others, landed on the word By the Bay Health. I hope that you like it. We are going to, you'll be hearing more about it in the very near future. So now I'll open up for any questions that you may have.
Karen.
Karen.
Hi. Thank you. Sorry, I've got a lawnmower going outside. So I'm new to a lot of this. I understand the hospice part, but you say you want to get involved earlier. What does that mean to an aging person? Can you describe what that looks like?
Absolutely. Let's say you end up in the hospital and you're released and you need some care at home. Home health care is likely what you're going to need. You need someone to come into your house to take care of changing your, wound, all the wound care or any type of care. We will provide a team of people to come into your house to work with you. They're not going to be there 24 hours. They will come in and provide the care that you need and leave. Let's say that your condition gets worse. Then you need something that looks like palliative care. And we will provide palliative care at home. Let's say the condition continues to worsen, and then now you're eligible for hospice care. That also changes, your eligibility, and your out-of-pocket cost. So then we will provide hospice care. So that is kind of the sequence of
so you don't have to be close to death or death in I used to hear that you had to be 3 months away or 6 months away, or you don't have to be any of that.
For hospice care, 6 months.
Got it.
Okay. Yes. For palliative care, no.
Okay.
And you can get in and out of palliative care just like you can get in and out of home health care.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Hey, Lori.
I have a very basic question. What's the difference between palliative care and hospice care? I've never understood it.
With palliative care, you don't have a terminal illness. You have a chronic illness that you need additional support with. We're going to have a program about palliative care because there's a lot of confusion about exactly what that is. But it is someone who is not yet dying. They don't have a terminal illness, yet have a chronic illness that needs a lot of support, and they want that support at home. Palliative care is not fully covered by your insurance, but I'm not going to get into the whole insurance cost. We all have different insurance plans, et cetera, but that's something that you need to know.
Thank you.
Hi, Susan.
Hi. So palliative care is also pain management care. So I'm assuming somebody with chronic back problem who's 35 years old might be eligible for that. Is that true?
You're breaking up a little bit, but can you repeat that question?
Yes. And I don't know if there's an echo.
Yes.
Everybody.
Okay. I think everybody needs to mute themselves unless you're speaking.
Okay. How's
Better.
that? Better?
Yes.
Okay. So the question I had was about the term palliative care, which I always understood to mean pain management to a great degree, as well as other support. Would a 35-year-old person with a chronic back problem be eligible for palliative care through By the Bay Health?
Not likely, not such a young person. We work very closely with your doctor before we determine whether or not you need palliative care, just like we work with a doctor who will let us know whether or not you're ready for hospice care. So we work with your health team to determine next steps and the right treatment for you. I would expect that someone who's 35 with a back problem, I'm sure, you're working or they would be working directly with their main health provider, hopefully UCSF. Yes, so there's a lot of gray space there about when you're eligible for palliative care. And we rely on your doctors to help us there.
Thank you.
Hi, Mary Kay.
Hi. As I recall, when I was working for hospice, people under palliative care could be treated for their illness, whereby if people were in hospice care, their illness was not treated.
Right, exactly. Because once you're in hospice, you no longer seek treatment.
Right.
And so, yes.
But on the other hand, they used to say palliative care was comfort care and hospice care was palliative.
Oh, yeah.
Because they provided comfort.
Yeah. If you have an interest in learning more specifically about palliative care, I can bring in a doctor to the next one. I'm a fundraiser, not a doctor. So. Any other questions? Hi, Karen.
Me again, sorry.
Okay.
So you work with the doctors. In other words, let's say my father, who's already passed, but he's getting worse and worse. You would go to your doctor and say, is it time for hospice? And then you contact hospice. And is that kind of how it works?
Yes, your doctor will make a referral because there are often, like, let's just say Marin Health, they have several different hospice organizations that they can they can refer you to. So they make a call to us. We have an admissions process. We have a staff of a phone center staff that will speak to the doctor or the family member. Let's say you, Karen, your brother is dying and you're inquiring, what are the next steps? We will recommend that you work with your doctor and the doctor or an admissions nurse or someone from the hospital will work with our admissions team and connect all the dots for you.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, Janine, you're on mute.
It used to be that you had 6 months to live on hospice.
Yes.
I hear that that is no longer the truth, that you can have it for longer than that, 6 months.
You may, absolutely. If the conditions continue to, worsen, if there are signs that, they're worsening, you can stay on hospice for quite a bit longer than that. Yes, but if the doctor is telling us that you have 6 months to live or less, that's when you're eligible. Yeah, my mother was on hospice care, and she was on hospice care for about 1.5 years, and she had Alzheimer's, and so her condition just worsened and worsened and worsened, and we were able to keep her on hospice care for that length of time. I believe, Caroline, did you have a question?
No, I didn't have a question. I just wanted to just say kudos to Hospice by the Bay. Last year, my former husband had both palliative and hospice care. And I have to tell you, every single person was magnificent. And they, and after, he departed, the follow-up was amazing. So his nurse came and visited with us in my home and brought flowers to us and was very personable. It was, and I worked with Lori McKay initially. Do you know her?
Yes.
Yeah, and oh God, she spent many, many hours with us. So I find, all of the people so generous with their time and wonderful. So I wanted to applaud you.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, we do have great staff, and our nurses, doctors, I mean, to do this kind of work, it has to be, part of who you are. And we have a very dedicated staff, and yeah, they're doing great work.
Oh, yes. One nurse I thanked, and she said, no, thank you, because doing this work is a gift to me, is a gift to all of us.
Wow, thank you.
Yes.
Lorna, did you have a question?
Yes. And experience. I wish, and for anybody, I wish I had known. I had always thought hospice was end of life and they're helping you die. And that's really not the case. My father was in assisted living just for a month with heart problems, and they suggested hospice, and I didn't want, I was thinking morphine, all this stuff. And unfortunately, the assisted care people or that facility sent him to the emergency room like twice a week. And frankly, that's kind of what did him in. It was just the stress of back and forth. I mean, for small things. I mean, he had congestive heart failure. And anyway, but it was also, it was going to be soon anyway. And I got to spend some really great time with him, and my brother took care of the hospice part, arranging it. And like I said, it was only for 24 hours and then he passed, but he passed back at home. I had seen him in the emergency room, driven up twice. But my aunt, who had dementia and was at Aegis of Corte Madera, she was on the hospice. It was continuum because there, and they were just, any hospice is really good. And actually, like your mother, dementia, Alzheimer's, it's a terminal disease. And to Jean's question, as I was told, it comes with like a diagnosis with 6 months, and then her doctor, who was a UCSF doctor, and then it's conferred by the hospice doctor, but nobody's kicked out.
Right.
Unless there was a miracle cure and they were completely cured, they're not kicked out of it. And as it was explained to me, and it was also the thought of scary. I was my aunt's full-time caregiver. I mean, she was in a home, but it was all up to me to make decisions. And it was only like the last 2 days that anti-anxiety and any of the comfort medications were applied. And luckily they allowed me in the last 2 days to visit, which there had been no visitors in person since March. And this was in October. Yeah. So all I would do is to say to anybody, it's that they're wonderful. The chaplain called, the social worker, and it was a different hospice, but it was also, one reason is they had several people in that facility. And so there was a hospice nurse on site.
Mhm.
And I had heard of Hospice by the Bay. I've been to fundraisers and things, or some, it was a film, but I would just suggest it's, everybody was so wonderful and giving. And when I talked to the hospice nurse, when they wanted to start the drugs, and I really didn't want the morphine until it was just really apparent, or really, really, really necessary. Initially, it was just all of a sudden she was incredibly agitated one day.
Mm.
But and I would just say, I mean, obviously, Miguel's the expert here, but any of my women's club sisters, if you want to talk or ask any experiences of me, give me a call. Just because I'd known about it for years, but because of personal experience, I know more. And it's not something to be afraid of. And we're all going to die.
Yeah.
And to make it as comfortable. I mean, we all have an expiration date. So, and I get a little verklempt, but that's just because, it's our loved ones. And we want to do what's best for them. So, and it wasn't scary the second time with all of that. So
Lorna,
thank you.
You bring up so many good points, and thank you for sharing, because what we want at end of life is quality of life. And being sent to the emergency room every other day is not, it doesn't help matters. I know we're all terrified of morphine and other things, but comfort care is really important at end of life. And so anyway, Sandra, you had your hand up.
Thank you. Yes, I have a question. Do you have any recommendations for those of us who do not have family in the area, or family actually that are close to us, on how to make arrangements for this kind of care when needed?
Well, like I mentioned, we have a facility now with the Redwoods. It's a great option. We are going to provide services wherever your home is. We can come to you or others, and we a lot of the money that I raise is to support just this end of life care for individuals who are alone. So people run out of money. They can no longer pay for a care. And so, we raise a lot of money to help support those that are in need of that type of support. So, we're what we don't want is anyone to die alone or without care.
Thank you.
Sure. Yep. Hi, Molly.
Hi. Just to follow on Sandra's question, it may not be a matter of money, but if there's somebody who lives alone, no family, no one else on the premises, and they require hospice care, how does that work?
Well, if they do not require hospice care?
No, if they do require hospice care, it's not a matter of finances or anything else. They just live alone. They don't have family who's staying with them. They are on their own, but they need hospice care. But there's nobody in the house other than the individual.
Other than the individual, right. Molly, we have counselors here that can help with that. But in essence, we will provide all of the hospice care and provide some resources in connecting you with the right people who can come to your house. As you know, we don't provide 24-hour care. No one does. And so if you need it's either a family member or a friend or a neighbor, somebody who is there as needed. But, we have a lot of patients that just simply are alone. They will call and tell us, look, we need somebody over here. And we will send someone, just to check up on them. We all have different circumstances at end of life. So we try to do as much as we can without, providing the 24-hour care. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but, we all have all different circumstances. But Hospice by the Bay prides themselves on just, being as available as we can to meet your needs. Lorna.
Miguel, I would suggest to Sandra and to anyone, let your personal physician know what you want, because it's actually the personal physician who, well, at least with my aunt, wrote the diagnosis, connected me with, said it was time for hospice. I actually talked to the director there also, the operations director, because again, I was a little fearful of it, especially during COVID when I couldn't go in and visit her. But personal physician, what do you think?
Yeah,
Miguel?
Yeah, personal physician is a perfectly good place to start. And you mentioned the word hospice again. It's like people are afraid of the word hospice. That's why we thought it was important to get it out of our name, because, they need hospice care, yet, you put the word hospice out there and then they don't want to move. They wait until the last minute. And our case has been that a lot of our patients, they wait, for the last week or two before they bring in hospice care. And they really needed it like months before that. Molly?
Yeah, I just need to clarify. This is for somebody who is still living on their own. They're not in a nursing home. They're not anywhere else. And there's a liability issue. And I think in the past, there have been hospice organizations that will not come in because they don't want the liability. So you can have your doctor refer you to hospice. And I've had this happen. You can have your doctor refer you to hospice, but hospice can't come in because of a liability issue.
Got it. Yes, I know.
So people who live on their own are kind of up a creek unless they get admitted somewhere.
Yeah, no. We're trying to do a lot to, we need so many more people doing home health care aids, basically. We're working right now with the Canal Alliance and the College of Marin to do training programs for people who can get certified in 4 to 6 weeks, so that they can provide services in homes. There's just such a shortage of those type of workers, and I think we're going to need to be creative in how we put programs together to get people the skills they need to do a job for people who need the services.
Right.
Hi, Julie.
Hi, I just want to clarify Molly's question, because Molly's talking about something that happened maybe 20 years ago to a women's club member who needed hospice care, lived alone, and we were told the policy is that hospice wouldn't come because there wasn't a caretaker living with her. So it fell upon women's club members to care for her. And I think directly Molly wants to know if that policy has changed. So
I have not heard of that policy, so I think that's an old policy. I can't imagine that hospice or any hospice would not provide a service like that that's so needed. I can certainly try to clarify, Molly, but I had not heard of that.
I don't live on my own, so I'm okay.
Oh, okay, good. Yes, Jenny.
You could change the word hospice if people are afraid of it to Heavenly Valley or something.
Oh, we could. And, people are being very creative, but the word hospice just scares people. And I think, Mary Kay, you mentioned another word earlier. It was like, and you were using the word as it pertained to palliative care. And I think it was comfort care. I think people call it comfort care, which is the same thing. You don't like it? Well, yeah, I mean, there's no right word, but definitely hospice is out.
Actually, comfort care is what Kaiser Hospital, well, this was 14 years ago when my mother was in the hospital. That's what they called their hospice thing in the hospital. And that's where she didn't come from or leave.
Got it. Mary Kay, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just have to say, because I'm old and I've worked for a long time, and I remember years ago, before hospice came about, being in the hospital with terminally ill patients that were in incredible pain. And we begged the doctors to be able to give them something for pain. And they'd say, oh, no, we'll addict them. We can't give them that stuff. They'll get addicted. They're dying, but they're afraid they were going to addict them. So when hospice came along and kept people comfortable, it was like so wonderful for me. It's like, it's changed everything for people. So when I hear the word hospice, it just equates with comfort for me.
Oh, good. And people shouldn't be so terrified of medications, my God. I know I saw my mother at the end of her life, and when she got agitated like that, uncontrollably agitated, I was the first to say, look, let's just give her some medication right now. And then that would calm her down completely. And then, you would cut back. I mean, it's just a pain management.
Yeah, but my aunt, when she was dying, was screaming in pain.
Oh.
And they wouldn't give her anything.
Oh my God. I saw somebody put their hand up. There, Gail.
Unmute. Yes, I guess listening is a wonderful presentation. And then I'm confused about a couple of things, and then it's brought up some questions. So like a few other women, it seems to be women here, I also live alone, and I don't have family or people nearby who could help me if I need something. And I'm a Kaiser patient now, and I have gone through a surgery thing, and I have heart disease now. If I need some help at home, were you saying that your organization, Hospice, you're changing your name, can provide assistance, skilled or unskilled care if I come home by myself and I need a little help with some things until I recover?
Yes. Skilled home health care is what you would need, and you can call us and talk to one of our representatives. They can tell you, what that looks like. We work very closely with Kaiser. As a matter of fact, Kaiser refers most of their hospice patients to us, and not so much palliative or home health. But we are one of our board members is on Kaiser employee, so we work very closely with Kaiser and others. So yes, just.
And so if I wanted to if I needed to do something, I just pick up the phone and I can call you, because when I had my surgery and I came home and I needed some assistance for a certain period of time, and I kept calling Kaiser, and they had, they didn't have anything. So I had to arrange for my own wheelchair to get to my front door, and, go and get one from someplace for the day. So there's a phone number I can call to call you directly if I get sort of blocked at Kaiser, because sometimes that happens.
Just go to our website. There's a number there. Tell them you need a skilled home health care. Because as you know, hospitals, even Kaiser, they want you out, they take care of what you need done, and then you're on your own. You need to figure it out.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And I felt like I was dumped out on my own. The surgery happened in one day and you're sent home the same day for things that you used to be in the hospital for 5 days or something.
Right.
Yeah. And then I have a daughter who's 52 with multiple disabilities in the Santa Rosa area. And she does have some nurses who come in. She has a live-in attendant who's sort of good. Do you provide, she has a suprapubic catheter and, multiple disabilities. In the Santa Rosa area, do you have something like this, what you're talking about, the skilled home
Yes,
health care?
we provide
Would apply?
we provide services in Santa Rosa. So you might want to have her or you inquire about what that might look like. We do all of Sonoma County.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, thank you very, very much, Miguel.
Sure. Well, I'm out of time. Unfortunately, I have to run into another meeting. But if you want us to do a follow-up of any kind, Kitty Whitaker, our CEO, was going to join us today, but lucky her, she had a whole week of vacation and was not able to join me. But she would be happy to join at another, lunch and learn. So keep that in
Thank you
mind.
very much.
Thank
It's been
you.
really informative.
You're very
Yeah.
welcome. Very nice to meet everyone.
Thank you.
so much.
Thanks again for all of your support.
Thank
Bye-bye.